Hey folks, welcome back to True Crime Stories, where we cover the most thrilling true crime stories. Before we get going, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for me. Thanks. And now let's get into today's story.
Welcome to another deep dive, and today we're headed straight into a case that's as captivating as it is chilling.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a picture-perfect town, Willow Creek, nestled in the foothills, known for its stunning views. And as you'll soon learn, it's Wisteria. It's practically synonymous with a flower.
Wow.
They even have a festival celebrating it.
Oh, wow.
But this year, the joyous atmosphere of the Spring Festival was shattered by a dark event.
It's a classic setup for a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idyllic facade of a small town, hiding secrets and simmering tensions beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Like those delicate wisteria vines, beautiful but capable of strangling the life out of what they cling to.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of things that are beautiful but potentially dangerous,
Yeah.
let's talk about our victim,
Okay.
Lila Garvey, a local artist known for her incredible wisteria-themed murals that were practically everywhere in Willow Creek.
Right.
But her life, much like her art, wasn't without its shadows.
Yes, there was a tragic event in her past, something she kept very private. But even more intriguing is her connection to Vivian Bell, the wealthy widow who owned the very mansion where Leela's final mural was painted.
Right.
Their relationship was, to put it mildly, complicated.
Complicated is an understatement.
Yeah.
We're talking about a family dynamic
Mm-hmm.
rife with envy, resentment, and a whole lot of unspoken tension.
Oh, wow.
You see, Vivian was this former socialite still clinging to her past glory, and it seems like every bit of attention Leela received just fueled Vivian's envy.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Leela got a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah.
Her talent was undeniable. Her success was growing, and her art had become almost synonymous with Willow Creek.
It's fascinating how success, especially within a family, can breed such complex emotions.
Right.
Vivian likely saw Leela's achievements as a reflection of her own unfulfilled aspirations, creating a breeding ground for resentment.
Exactly. And that resentment, along with the secrets and whispers that seemed to permeate Willow Creek, created the perfect storm for tragedy. Now let's get to the heart of this deep dive.
Okay.
We've got reports, interviews, forensic analysis, a mountain of information, all pointing to the death of Lila Garvey.
Wow.
But the circumstances surrounding her death are what make this case truly chilling.
Okay.
She wasn't simply found dead.
Right.
Her body was discovered right beneath her latest masterpiece, a giant wisteria tree painted on the side of Vivian's mansion with a single, freshly picked wisteria bloom clutched in her hand. Talk about a cryptic clue.
It's like something out of a Gothic novel.
Yeah.
The symbolism of the wisteria, the setting of the murder, the deliberate placement of that bloom, all of it points to a crime steeped in emotion and meticulously planned.
It's almost theatrical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And trying to make sense of this theatrical crime scene is Detective Iris Lowry,
Okay.
recently transferred from the city.
Wow.
Imagine being thrown into this intricate web of small-town relationships and unspoken rules, tasked with unraveling a case that's already sending shockwaves through the community.
Oh, gosh.
It's like walking a tightrope trying to maintain balance while navigating the minefield of secrets and suspicions.
Her outsider status might be an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
She's not bound by the same preconceived notions or loyalties that might cloud the judgment of someone who's lived in Willow Creek their whole life.
Right. She brings a fresh perspective, but you can tell she's treading carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we delve into the suspects and the twists and turns of this investigation, let's rewind to the night of the Spring Festival.
Okay.
The energy was electric, everyone buzzing with excitement to see Leela's mural. But then out of nowhere, this massive thunderstorm rolls in, sending everyone scattering for cover.
It's interesting how the storm acts as a catalyst,
Yeah.
a turning point in the narrative.
Right.
The sudden chaos, the darkness, the heavy rain. It provides the perfect cover for a crime to occur unnoticed.
You're absolutely right. It's like the storm itself becomes a character in this story, setting the stage for a tragedy that would forever change Willow Creek.
Right.
The next morning, the festive mood had vanished, replaced by a chilling discovery. Leela's body was found beneath the mural, that single wisteria bloom still clutched in her hand.
Oh, wow.
It felt deliberate, a message from the killer.
A message that Detective Lowry would need to decipher. Was it a sign of remorse? A taunt?
Right.
Or perhaps a clue deliberately left behind to mislead the investigation?
Those are the very questions that begin to unravel the mystery, and trust me, the answers are far more tangled and shocking than anyone in Willow Creek could have imagined.
Wow.
But before we dive into those answers, let's take a closer look at the players in this tragic drama.
Because every good mystery needs its cast of characters. And in this case, each one seems to be hiding their own secrets, their own motives, their own reasons to want Leela gone.
Buckle up, because we're about to enter a world of hidden resentments, artistic rivalries, and small-town secrets that run deeper than anyone could have imagined.
Oh my gosh. So let's delve into the world of these potential suspects, starting with the one who was perhaps closest to Leela Vivian Bell.
The grieving aunt, the owner of the mansion where Leela's final masterpiece was displayed.
Mm-hmm.
But also, as we've learned, a woman harboring years of unspoken resentment and envy. Detective Lowry's interviews with Vivian are a masterclass in reading between the lines.
Precisely, Vivian at first seemed genuinely distraught,
Right.
but Detective Lowry, with her keen eye for detail, noticed discrepancies in Vivian's demeanor and the inconsistencies in her story.
Okay.
It was as though a carefully constructed facade was beginning to crack.
You could practically see the wheels turning in Detective Lowry's head as she observed Vivian's every word, every gesture. One moment, Vivian would be praising Leela's talent,
Right?
but then almost in the same breath, she'd be criticizing her work, calling it too provocative.
Oh, wow.
Too dark, too much of a departure from the traditional beauty of Willow Creek. It was as if she was both drawn to and repelled by Leela's artistic expression.
And then there were the witnesses who placed Vivian at the scene of the crime. Remember, she claimed to be inside the mansion during the storm,
Right.
but several people reported seeing her arguing with Leela on the porch right before the downpour. It's these seemingly insignificant details that can often unravel a carefully constructed alibi.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of details that unravel things, we can't forget about that explosive text message, the one Vivian sent to Leela just hours before her death.
Right.
It was practically confession laced with anger and resentment.
That text message is a gold mine for any investigator.
Yeah.
Vivian, in a moment of raw emotion, told Leela to stay out of her life, accusing her of stirring up trouble and disrespecting the memory of her late husband. It laid bare the depth of her animosity towards Leela and established a clear motive.
It's chilling to read, especially knowing what happened later that night. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Pastor Samuel Whitaker,
Okay.
another suspect in Leela's murder. The town's moral compass always preaching about good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
But Detective Lowry, digging beneath the surface, uncovered a much more complex and troubled individual.
What makes Pastor Samuel so intriguing is the stark contrast between his public persona and the private thoughts revealed in his journal entries. He presented himself as a pillar of the community, but behind closed doors he was grappling with doubts, frustrations, and a deep-seated unease about Leela and her art.
His journal entries were like a window into his soul, and they were filled with dark musings about Leela's work, questioning its morality and its impact on the community.
Yeah.
It was almost as if he felt threatened by the darkness she depicted in her paintings, viewing it as a personal attack on his beliefs and authority.
You know, it's not uncommon for individuals in positions of moral authority to struggle with change, especially when it challenges their deeply held convictions.
Right.
Pastor Samuel may have seen Leela's art as a disruption of the status quo, something that threatened the values he held dear.
And that perception, that sense of being threatened, could certainly lead to extreme actions. But let's move on to Tommy Reed, the aspiring journalist who was completely infatuated with Leela. Now, this kid was young, but his obsession with her was borderline stalkerish.
Ah, Tommy.
Yeah.
He represents the classic case of idolization gone wrong. His admiration for Leela, for her talent and her free spirit, had crossed a line blurring the boundaries between fandom and obsession.
His notebooks were filled with observations about her every move, her daily routine, her habits, the people she interacted with. It was as if he was trying to piece together every aspect of her life to somehow possess a part of her.
And when that level of obsession is coupled with rejection, it can create a volatile mix of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, Leela gently rebuffed his advances, which likely bruised his ego and fueled a sense of entitlement and resentment.
Right. It's like he couldn't handle the fact that she didn't reciprocate his feelings and rejection, especially for someone as young and emotionally immature as Tommy, can be a powerful trigger for rage and violence.
We can't discount the possibility that his wounded pride, his inability to accept Leela's rejection, might have led him to act out in a way that was both impulsive and destructive.
So last but not least, we have Angela Morris. Leela's rival in the art world. Their competition was fierce, their styles distinct, and the tension between them was palpable.
Angela is an intriguing character because she embodies the dark side of ambition. She was talented, driven, and doubly invested in her career, but she also felt threatened by Leela's rising star, convinced that Leela was somehow stealing the recognition that she deserved.
They were constantly clashing publicly, arguing about their work, And there were even whispers of sabotage on both sides.
Yeah.
It was as if they were engaged in a constant tug of war for the spotlight, each one determined to outshine the other.
And that sort of rivalry, that constant need to prove oneself, can sometimes lead to destructive behaviors. It's not a stretch to imagine that Angela, in a fit of jealousy and rage, might have taken things too far.
Especially considering that witnesses reported seeing her lurking around Leela's studio just days before the festival. It's as if she was searching for something that could discredit Leela, expose her as a fraud, or give her an edge in their ongoing competition.
So here we have 4 distinct suspects, each with their own motives, secrets, and opportunities. But Detective Lowry, armed with her sharp instincts and meticulous approach, started to notice subtle inconsistencies in their stories, tiny cracks in their carefully constructed facades.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
The detective work, the psychology of it all, it's like watching a master chess player anticipate their opponent's every move.
Exactly. And as Detective Lowry delved deeper into the interviews, she realized that the key to unlocking this case lay not just in the words that were spoken, but in the silences, the subtle shifts in body language, the fleeting expressions that revealed the truth lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, I need to know more. What did she pick up on? What were these telltale signs that started pointing her in the right direction?
Well, let's start with Vivian. While her emotional outbursts were dramatic and seemingly genuine, Detective Lowry sensed a rehearsed quality to them, as if she was putting on a performance for the benefit of the investigation.
Interesting, almost like she was trying too hard to appear distraught, to play the role of the grieving aunt, to deflect suspicion.
Exactly. And then there was Pastor Samuel. He was so measured in his responses, so careful with his words. It was as if he was constructing a narrative that would protect him rather than reveal the truth.
His composure was almost unsettling.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd be more forthcoming given his position in the community, but it was like he was holding something back, guarding a secret that he couldn't afford to expose.
Now, Tommy, on the other hand, was a complete mess.
Oh, yeah.
His denials were far too forceful, too desperate. He kept changing his story, tripping over his own lies, and his body language screamed guilt and anxiety.
Teenagers, right? They're not exactly known for their poker faces. But what about Angela? She seemed the most in control, the most confident. Did Detective Lowry sense anything off about her?
Angela was a master of deflection. She downplayed her rivalry with his friend. Leela insisted she was nowhere near the scene of the crime and presented a carefully constructed alibi that seemed airtight. But Detective Lowry had a hunch that Angela wasn't being entirely truthful. There was something in her eyes, a flicker, what was it, triumph?
Yeah.
Perhaps even a subtle hint of satisfaction.
Okay, so everyone's a suspect, everyone's hiding something, but we're still missing that crucial piece of the puzzle, the irrefutable evidence that directly connects one of them to Leela's death.
And that's where the investigation takes an unexpected turn. Remember, that single wisteria bloom found clutched in Leela's hand. It wasn't just a random detail, it was a clue meticulously placed by the killer, and the forensic analysis of that bloom revealed some shocking results.
Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat. What did they find out about that wisteria bloom?
It turns out that wisteria varieties can be incredibly specific to certain regions, even down to individual gardens.
Wow.
And the pollen analysis of that bloom revealed something remarkable. It was a perfect match for the rare wisteria growing in Vivian Bell's garden.
Wait a minute, are you saying that the bloom found in Leela's hand came from Vivian's garden? That completely changes the game. It directly links Vivian to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
And puts her right at the top of the suspect list.
Exactly. Remember those witnesses who saw Vivian cutting wisteria from her garden on the night of the festival?
Right.
Suddenly, their seemingly insignificant observations become crucial pieces of evidence. And when Detective Lowry searched Vivian's mansion, she found a vase filled with freshly cut wisteria blooms and a pair of gardening shears with traces of blood on them.
Oh, wow. The plot thickens. So we have the wisteria bloom linking Vivian to the crime scene, the witnesses placing her there on the night of the murder, and now a potential murder weapon found in her possession. It's starting to feel like all roads lead to Vivian.
It's certainly compelling evidence, but Detective Lowry knew she needed more than just circumstantial evidence.
Right.
To secure a conviction, she needed a confession.
And that's where her skills as an interrogator really shine. I can only imagine the tension in the room when she confronted Vivian with all of this evidence.
It was a masterfully orchestrated confrontation. Detective Lowry laid out the facts piece by piece, dismantling Vivian's carefully crafted alibi and exposing the cracks in her facade. The pressure mounted, the walls closed in, and finally Vivian broke.
She confessed.
Yes, in a torrent of tears and pent-up emotions, Vivian confessed to having a heated argument with Leela on the night of the storm.
Wow.
She admitted to pushing Leela, causing her to fall and hit her head on the stone fountain in the garden. It wasn't premeditated murder,
Oh, God.
but a tragic act of passion fueled by years of simmering resentment and a moment of uncontrollable rage.
Wow. It's heartbreaking to think that all of this stemmed from a family feud, from years of unspoken envy and resentment. It's a reminder that even the most beautiful facades can hide dark secrets, and that even those we love can become consumed by their own demons.
And it's a testament to Detective Lowry's skills that she was able to piece together this complex puzzle to see through the lies and deceptions and to ultimately bring justice for Leela Garvey.
So what happened to Vivian? Was she charged with murder?
In light of the circumstances and the lack of premeditation, Vivian was charged with involuntary manslaughter. She was ultimately convicted and sentenced to a significant prison term. The town of Willow Creek was left reeling from the revelation, trying to reconcile the image of their beloved artist with the tragic circumstances of her death and the truth about the woman who was supposed to be her protector.
It's a story that sends chills down your spine. The beauty of Willow Creek, the symbolism of the Wisteria, the dark undercurrents of envy and resentment that led to such a senseless loss, it's all incredibly haunting.
But amidst the tragedy, there's a glimmer of hope. Leela's art, once a source of conflict and tension, became a catalyst for healing and growth in Willow Creek art workshops dedicated to her memory, sprang up encouraging residents to express themselves, to confront their emotions, and to build a stronger sense of community.
It's as though they took the darkness of Layla's death and transformed it into something beautiful, something that honored her memory and brought the community closer together.
Exactly, and Detective Lowry, forever marked by her experience in Willow Creek, left with a deeper understanding of the human heart and the complexities of small-town life.
This deep dive has been an emotional roller coaster. We've explored the dark side of ambition, the destructive nature of envy, and the power of art to both heal and divide.
And as we conclude our exploration of the case of Leela Garvey, we leave you with this final thought. Beneath the surface of even the most idyllic settings, human emotions run deep and can sometimes erupt in unexpected and tragic ways. Cherish the beauty around you, but never underestimate the power of the human heart, both for good and for evil.
That's a chilling reminder, and one that I think will stay with me for a long time. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and be sure to keep those wisteria blooms close to your heart.